what inspired this is when I thought of this segment, it was last Sunday, and it was because it was snowing, and it made me think. People can disagree with me on this, but this was I think what 4 days ago. So we were a few days into March. Just if there's justice in the world, it shouldn't still be snowing at that point. It should have ended in like February at least in my opinion. I mean, maybe in like Antarctica or something, it should still be going, or like Scandinavia or something. But no, over here in the United States, in this country, it should not still be going. And it's because I remember when I grew up in Western Washington. At least that's where I remember most of my childhood being. And the idea is that March is supposed to be basically the beginning of spring. And I mean I guess it technically is, but that's kind of a misconception because it's the majority of the month is still winter. And I know I'm not a genius for pointing that out, but so it doesn't even feel like a spring month like at all. And it just doesn't feel like it is the other thing. Even when it gets into spring, it's just cold and sad the whole time. There are good parts of spring. Spring is probably the best season weather-wise in terms of just overall, because most seasons suck in terms of weather, but that's a different discussion. But March is probably one of the better ones. Uh, I mean, spring is one of the better ones where it's nice because it's sunny but not too hot. It rains sometimes, but not too much. It's it's interesting. But yeah, that's kind of my opinion on it. But over here, it is just bad and it sucks. And I mean, I also wanted to bring this up because the other day I was going on social media and I saw the WSU social media post. This was on Friday, I think, so just nearly a week ago. And I noticed whenever it snows, they kind of post a thing on an Instagram story. Or I don't really use Snapchat or anything like that, so people maybe could back me up if they posted it there, showing the weather. And I know they're just trying to show what's happening and it's fun or cool or whatever. But it's just sad because it's always just snowing and cold. And that's not weather to get excited about, at least in my opinion. At least at this stage in the year, maybe back in like October, November when it was shifting to be that way. Maybe then it's kind of cool. But besides that, no, it's not. We have nothing to brag about over here. We're not living in like exceptional circumstances over here. So something about that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I think it's kind of weird that March can have the reputation of being like a good month for weather, and then we should still expect snow at this time. I don't like that. Those two things are kind of melded together. So I wanted to go over why March, at least in my opinion, is probably the most annoying to deal with out of any month in terms of weather. And I made a list of the top 10 reasons why, and I'm going to try to convince people about at least why it is. Um, but, so here are my top 10 reasons why March actually sucks in terms of weather. And there might be a little bit of repeat with some of these, but, bear with me here. So, number 10 is that whenever you look outside, at least at this point in the month, the trees are still dead. At least the majority of them that I've seen. They're still just dead. They're just sticks coming out of the ground, Nothing special about it at all. And it's just sad. I mean, whenever you go outside, if you're gonna like go outside, I don't know, ride your bike to the park and have a picnic like the 1950s or whatever, you don't want to see a bunch of dead trees. And that's what you see. They don't even look like trees. They just, like I said, look like sticks coming out of the ground. I mean, they're not like Mother Nature's treasures anymore. They just look like, man-made crap. I mean, we need to just take them out and replace them with like a parking lot or something. We shouldn't have a bunch of these dead trees just sticking out of the ground. It just looks depressing. But number 9 is that it seems that March is the month where it hails the most out of any other month. At least that's something I've noticed. Maybe other people don't agree on that. But I feel like, this March, I think it's already hailed like 3 times. And, it's not like it really hurts or anything. I mean, depending on, I don't know, if you're running around without much clothes on, which you shouldn't really be doing. But if you are, maybe it would hurt to have the hail impact your bare skin. But it's just, it builds up a lot of the time. And, when it is coming down in bigger chunks, then it can kind of hurt you. So that gets annoying to deal with. Even though it's not February or December or January or whatever, one of those months where you'd expect it, it feels like March is the month of hail, or at least the most hail of any other month. So, yeah, that's irritating. Number 8 is, and this is just more of like a sad thing in general. I've just come to realize it was probably snowing when Jesus was crucified. And that's just sad. None of like the religious paintings depict that at all. And it's just kind of sad, I mean, that's like not fun weather. I mean, I know it's not a fun event, but that's not good weather. And it just makes me think of, those jokes or whatever of how angels, how they're depicted is not biblically accurate. They're not people with wings and the white cloaks and all that. Apparently they're like those eyeball looking monster things. Well, that it's kind of the other way around where, I mean, it was probably snowing when Jesus was crucified, at least if he was crucified here, which I mean, it's possible. So yeah, I mean that's like I think more religious works need to depict that. I mean, unless depending on what year it is, because then Easter falls on April, so I don't know. He was crucified in April that month, so I guess you can forget about that. But I don't know. It's just something I wanted to add. Number 7 is for the majority of the month the sun still sets at like 5, except this weekend is when apparently that's changing. To my knowledge, I believe daylight saving times is coming back. This weekend is when it's gonna start setting later. But me personally, I don't really mind the sun setting early, depending on the time of year. Like December, I don't really mind because it's like it gives you that like that Christmas atmosphere where you sit around the fireplace and hang up the stockings and all that crap. But you know, by March, when that's all over, there's nothing to look forward to except for like St. Patty's Day or whatever. So there's no fun with the sun setting at like 5:30. It's just sad and depressing. It just it doesn't put you in an atmosphere of like Christmas cheer. It just puts you in an atmosphere of wanting to hurt people. So yeah, get rid of that. I think that's another reason. You can't do anything late out in March anyway. So yeah, just scrap that part. Number 6, and this kind of ties into that, but I could excuse some of this weather stuff if it was still Christmas time, but it's not Christmas time anymore. You can live with the sun setting at 4 and the snow and the rain and all that when it's close to Christmas. You got something to look forward to. There's nothing to look forward to in March, except well, spring when the weather changes, which is more than halfway through the month. So there's nothing to look forward to in March. It's just sad. There are certain periods of time where this kind of weather is more acceptable. March 7th is not that time. That time is long run out. So yeah, just forget that. We don't have to deal with that anymore. I think we need a holiday in March that can compare to Christmas so we can at least get through it. Easter doesn't count because half of the time that's after March. So we need a new holiday. We need like a Christmas 2 or something. But maybe the corporations will get to that soon. I don't know. It's possible. Number 5 is that even though, in this part of the town or in this part of the state, it's normal, you aren't even really expecting the snow when it comes anymore because mentally you're tuned into the idea of, all right, November through February, those are the snow months, and then we can be in the clear. But unless you're checking the weather, you're not going to expect the snow when it comes. Like, there's been a lot of times where I've been talking to people and we're kind of like looking at the weather and then like, oh, holy crap, it's going to snow tomorrow. And we shouldn't be surprised, but, you just are every time. In November when it snows, it's kind of like a pleasant surprise because, winter is just starting. It's new. It's kind of fun, That's when it's a pleasant surprise. Now it's like, well, crap, how am I going to commute? How am I going to drive? How am I going to walk around? What if I slip and fall, So it's like a sneak attack all the time, and you don't want to have to deal with that, but you do every time. And, we should get used to it, but for some reason we don't, so that's another reason it sucks over here. Number 4 is that whenever it's not snowing, it's raining. It's another one of those months that's terrible for rain. And I know I'm going to sound like an idiot for saying that because if you're listening to the show in Pullman, then it didn't rain today. Didn't rain yesterday either, I don't think. I don't think it's supposed to tomorrow. But Saturday, I'm pretty sure not only is it supposed to rain, but it's supposed to be mixed in with snow. So it's coming back, and it's coming back full force. So don't act like I'm an idiot for that. But like 90% of the time when it's not snowing, it's raining. And that's pretty annoying to deal with too when it's a lot because it gets in your shoes. It's annoying. It gets your clothes all wet. You feel like you can't go out and do anything. I mean, at least with snow, you can like slide down the hills and all that. I mean, I don't do that, but well, someone could. You can do that. You can like, I don't know. With snow, you can like build a snowman. You can't do that with rain. Rain is just you look out the window and cry a little bit. So, yeah, that's not fun. Probably the one thing that's more annoying than the snow is the rain. Number 3, and I kind of covered this before, but it's still winter for like 90% of the month. So I'm just saying that in terms of branding. And I already covered on this point, so I'll make it quick. But we shouldn't consider March like the first month of spring, That's pretty much April. I mean, yeah, sure, it technically is. In the same way where December is considered the first month of winter when 90% of it's still autumn. And, same thing with September with going into autumn, it's still technically summer. But we should just push those back to the next month is really the first month of that season. Because March, I'll tell you what, at least with December, it feels like winter. March, it still feels like, it doesn't feel like spring. It still feels like winter. It's just annoying, and the branding is just wrong. I think someone needs to, the president needs to go in and change the first day of spring to like April 1st or something. Number 2 is that, it ruins St. Patrick's Day because St. Patrick's Day is supposed to be green, Like when I was a kid, I don't know if anyone else did this crap, but, I really enjoyed going out and, looking for 4-leaf clovers and the idea of like the whole, like a leprechaun being around. And you actually believed that back then. Now you don't, but I mean, when you're a kid, you get excited for pretty much any holiday because even if you don't get presents, there's some sort of like branding along with it. Um, but over here, it snows on St. Patrick's Day, and that ruins the whole thing. The leprechaun died of being frozen alive a long time ago. He's dead. So how's that for the kids? Tell them that, and let's see how they react to it. But yeah, it's just it ruins St. Patrick's Day if it's not green across the pastures, in my opinion. And maybe some people don't really care, but I don't know. It does something to me. I mean, St. Patrick's Day is one of the best holidays. It's like the one day of the year you have an excuse to get trash and no one has a problem with it. So, well, except Halloween, I guess. So, yeah, we need to get rid of the snow on St. Patrick's Day. Just get rid of it completely. And number one is that, and this ties back into what I was saying about raining. You think it's over, and then comes April, and April is still snowing. I don't know what's that about, but every year I've been on the Palouse, it still snows in early April. And that sucks because you got less than a month, or just over a month sometimes, before you get to leave school. It's summer and all that. And yeah, how do you like that? The month before it was snowing still, and then it hits you with the rain, and you think it's all good, but it's not. You still can't go out, still can't do anything. It's still sad and depressing and tragic. It's just horrible. Horrible. So you don't even get like this light at the end of the tunnel. It's just more darkness at the end. There is no end of the tunnel. It's just a wall at the end, and you smash into it. So those are the reasons why March weather still sucks. People think it's an improvement over January, February, and maybe it kind of is slightly, but it's really not substantial enough to get excited about, at least in my opinion. But you might be thinking, because I obviously have shown I can complain. If I hate the snow so much, especially this time of year, why do I even live here? The answer is nowhere else would let me host a radio show. Everywhere else declined, and so I had to come here. But I will say this, as much as I dislike the weather of Pullman, like 90% of the time at least, I will say at least it's not like the Midwest. At least it's not Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota. I don't know how many of those states are considered the Midwest, but I'm just naming states here. At least it's not Texas or whatever other Midwest states. Last one was a joke in case you couldn't tell, but yeah, because they get screwed with the snow like it's Antarctica or something. I don't know how people even live in that place. You think that whole area should just be condemned, but whatever. I mean, I'm just saying, out of all the places that God could have put me, maybe Pullman isn't the best in terms of my personal feelings about weather, but I guess I'll say, just to be nice and end on a good note, it's not the worst either. So yeah, those are my general thoughts on the weather in March, and I thought we would move on now. Basically, maybe I didn't convince anyone with that, but at least I got that off my chest because I treat the microphone like it's a therapist or something. So